A very good afternoon, students. In previous session, we had discussed about neural control and coordination up to central nervous system. In this particular session, I am going to discuss about eye and ear. A pair of eyes are located in the sockets of the skull called as orbits. The adult human eyeball is nearly spherical shape structure. The wall of eyeball is composed of three layers: outer sclera, middle choroid, and inner retina. The external layer is composed of dense connective tissue is called as sclera. Anteriorly, the sclera is continuous as a cornea, and the middle layer, which is located inner to the sclera, is called a choroid. The choroid contains many blood vessels and looks bluish in color. Because of blood vessels, it looks bluish in color. The choroid layer is thin over the posterior two-thirds of the eyeball, but it becomes thick in the anterior part, form the ciliary body. Posteriorly, it is a thin, but anteriorly it becomes thick and form the ciliary body. The ciliary body composed with ciliary muscles, and the ciliary body consists ciliary processes which are attached to the lens with help of suspensory ligaments to hold the lens in its position. The ciliary body itself continues forward to form a pigmented and opaque structure called the iris, which is the visible colored portion of iris. The iris is the visible colored portion of the eye. The eyeball contains a transparent crystalline lens which is held in the place by the ligaments attached to the ciliary body. The suspensory ligaments attached to the ciliary body, they hold the lens in its position. In the front of lens, the aperture surrounded by the iris is called pupil. The diameter of pupil is regulated by the muscle fibers of iris. When there is a high intensity of light, those iris muscles get relaxes, then the diameter of pupil decreases to reduce the amount of light which is enter into the eye. The same time, in the low intensity of light, the diameter of pupil increases. Here you can see the structure of eyeball. Next, the inner layer is the retina and is contain three layers of neural cells from inside to outside: ganglionic cells, bipolar cells, and photoreceptor cells. Ganglionic cells from inner to outer: inner ganglionic, middle bipolar, and outer photoreceptor cells. There are two type of photoreceptor cells, namely rods and cones. These cells contain the photoreceptor cells contains a light sensitive protein called photopigments. Here, rod cells contain rhodopsin and cone cells contains iodopsin. The daylight vision and color vision are the function of cones, and the twilight vision or the scotopic vision is function of rods. So your cones are involved in the daylight vision, and rods are involved in the photopic vision or twilight vision. The rods contain a purplish red protein called the rhodopsin or visual purple, which contain a derivative of vitamin A, that is retinol. The human eye, there are three types of cones: erythrolabes, cyanolabes, and chlorolabes. Erythrolabes are sensitive to the red color, chlorolabes are sensitive to the green color, and cyanolabes are sensitive to the blue color. and they possess their own characteristic photopigment that respond to the red, green, and blue light. The sensation of different colors are produced by the various combination of these cones and their pigments. When these cones are stimulated equally, all cones are stimulated equally, a sensation of white light is produced. The optic nerves leave the eye and the retinal blood vessel enters it at a point medial to the and slightly above the posterior pole of the eyeball. That region we can call it as blind spot. So the posterior portion of eyeball where the optic nerve emerges out, that part is called as blind spot because the photoreceptor cells are absent at that region. At the posterior pole of eyeball, lateral to the blind spot, there is a yellowish pigmented spot is called as macula lutea. There is a central small pit is present in the macula lutea is called as fovea centralis. The fovea is a thinned out portion of the retina where the only cones are densely packed. It is the point where the visual acuity is the greatest, means the resolution is high. Acute vision is function of fovea centralis. The space between cornea and the lens is called as aqueous chamber and contains a thin watery fluid called aqueous humor. This aqueous humor is continuously secreted from the ciliary muscles, epithelium of ciliary body. The space between the lens and the retina is called vitreous chamber and is filled with the transparent gel called vitreous humor. Here, aqueous humor is the watery fluid and vitreous humor is the gel-like fluid. This vitreous humor is produced only once during embryonic development from the retina. Next, mechanism of vision. The light rays in the visible wavelength focused on the retina through the cornea and the lens generate the potential in the rods and cones. So, light passes into the uh, eyeball through pupil, cornea, lens. The lens refracts light onto the retina. The photosensitive compounds in the human eye is composed of, that is rhodopsin is composed of opsin, it is a protein, and the retinol is the aldehyde of vitamin A. Light induces dissociation of retinol from opsin. When light fall on the retina, means the photoreceptor cells, the rhodopsin is bleaches. Light induces dissociation of retinol from the opsin, resulting in the change in the structure of the opsin. This causes membrane permeability changes. As a result, potential differences are generated in the photoreceptor cell. This produces a signal that generates action potential in the ganglionic cells through the bipolar cells. So your action potentials are generated in the ganglionic cells through bipolar cell by the signals and from the photoreceptor cells. These action potentials are transmitted by the optic nerve to the visual cortex area of the brain where the neural impulses are analyzed and the image formed on the retina is recognized based on the earlier memory and experience. This is about eye. Let us see the ear. The ear performs two sensory functions. One is hearing and maintenance of the body balance. Anatomically, the ear can be divided into three major sections called outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. The outer ear consists of pinna and external auditory meters. A pinna collects the vibrations in the air which produce the sound. The external auditory meters leads inwards and extend up to the tympanic membrane or eardrum. The pinna is composed with cartilages and covered with the skin. There are very fine hairs and wax secreting glands in the skin of the pinna and meatus. They are called as ceruminous glands which secrete earwax. These hairs and earwax prevent the entry of dust particle into the middle ear cavity. The tympanic membrane is composed of connective tissue covered with the skin outside and with mucous membrane inside. The tympanic membrane composed with connective tissue and covered with the skin outside and mucous membrane inside. Next, middle ear. The middle ear is air-filled cavity. It consists three ossicles called malleus, incus, stapes, which are attached to one another in the chain-like fashion. The malleus is attached to the tympanic membrane, and the stapes is attached to the oval window of the cochlea. That is oval window which open into the internal ear. The ear ossicle increases the efficiency of transmission of sound waves to the inner ear. And Eustachian tube connect the middle ear cavity with the pharynx. The Eustachian tube helps in the equalizing the pressure on either sides of the eardrum. So your access sound waves passes through the Eustachian tube into the pharynx. The fluid-filled inner ear called the labyrinth consists of two parts, the bony and membranous labyrinth. Bony labyrinth and membranous labyrinth. Bony labyrinth is a series of channels which is filled with the perilymph. Inside these channels, that means the series of channels lie membranous labyrinth which is surrounded by the fluid called perilymph. Bony labyrinth is filled with perilymph, whereas membranous labyrinth is filled with endolymph. Here membranous labyrinth is embedded in the fluid, that is perilymph of bony labyrinth. The membranous labyrinth is filled with the fluid called endolymph. The coiled portion of the labyrinth is called as cochlea. The membranes constituting cochlea, the resoners and basilar, divide the surrounding perilymph-filled bony labyrinth into upper scala vestibuli and lower scala tympani. Here cochlea consists two membranes. One is basilar membrane, another one is a resoners membrane. The space between basilar and tympanic basilar membrane and resoners membrane is called as scala media. Here these two membranes divide the bony labyrinth, perilymph filled bony labyrinth into two portions. Upper portion is called as scala vestibuli and the lower portion is called as scala tympani. The space within the cochlea called as scala media, that is two membranes of cochlea are basilar membrane and resoners membrane. Here resoners membrane separate scala vestibuli and scala media, whereas basilar membrane separates scala media from the scala tympani. Next, here scala vestibuli, scala tympani are filled with perilymph, whereas scala media is filled with endolymph. At the base of cochlea, the scala vestibuli ends at oval window, also called as fenestra ovalis, while the scala tympani terminates at the round window, also called as fenestra rotundus, which opens into the middle ear. The organ of Corti is the structure located on the basilar membrane, which contain air cells that act as a auditory receptor. There is a sensory ridge present over the basilar membrane. On the basilar membrane is called as organ of Corti. The organ of Corti is composed with the two types of cells, sensory air cells and supporting cells. The basal end of air cells is in the close contact with afferent nerve fibers, and the apexes of the sensory air cell contains stereocilia. The large number of processes called stereocilia are projected from the apical part of the each air cell. Your basal end of the sensory air cells are connected with afferent nerve fibers. Now, above the stereocilia, There is an elastic membrane is called a tectorial membrane. The external ear receives the sound waves and direct them. This is a mechanism of hearing. The external ear receives the sound waves and direct them into the eardrum. The eardrum vibrates in response to the sound waves, and these vibrations are transmitted through the ear ossicles into the oval window. The vibration are passed through the oval window on the into the fluid of the cochlea, where they generate waves in the perilymph and endolymph. First, the waves are generated in the perilymph. Then these waves causes movement in the Resiners membrane. Then movement in the Resiners membrane causes generate the waves in the endolymph. The fluid waves in the endolymph causes a repelling movement of the basilar membrane. Due to repelling movement of basilar membrane, the stereocilia of the sensory air cells bend against the tectorial membrane that create the pressure gradient, that generate the action potential, the sensory air cells, and which is, they are called as nerve impulse, and these nerve impulse are uh, given to the afferent nerve fibers, and these impulses are transmitted by the afferent nerve fibers via auditory nerves to the auditory cortex, auditory area of the brain, where impulses are analyzed and sound is recognized. So the impulse which are generated in the sensory air cell passes through the afferent nerve fibers of cochlear branch of auditory nerve, that is the eighth cranial nerve, which is connected with the temporal lobe of the cerebral cortex. There, impulse analysis takes place, and the sound waves are recognized. Next, another function of a ear is the body balance, the maintenance of body posture. The inner ear also contains a complex system called a vestibular apparatus located above the cochlea. The vestibular apparatus is located above the cochlea. The vestibular apparatus composed with the semicircular canals and otolith organ. Semicircular canals and otolith organ. There are three semicircular canals lie in the different plane at a right angle to each other. The membranous canals are suspended in the perilymph of the bony canals. These semicircular canals are membranous structures. They are embedded in the perilymph of the bony canals. The base of each semicircular canal is swollen, and it is called as ampulla, which contains a projecting ridge called crista ampullaris, and the crista ampullaris consists sensory air cells and supporting cells. Next, here semicircular canals are responsible for maintenance of the body balance. Otolith organ consists of saccule and utricle, and this saccule and utricle contains a projecting ridge called macula. The crista and the macula are the specific receptors of vestibular apparatus responsible for the maintenance of body balance and the body posture. The dynamic equilibrium and the static equilibrium both are controlled by the otolith organ and semicircular canals that support sensory organs. Next, chemical, next chapter, the last chapter in first year part, chemical coordination and integration. In animals, control and coordination is performed by neural system and endocrine system together. Neural system and endocrine system together function to control and coordinate the different type of different body functions. As the nerve fibers do not innervate all the cells of the body, the endocrine system is required to coordinate the function. Your nervous system has point to point connection, but the neurons are not innervated to the all body cells. So because to overcome that problem, the endocrine system is present. Endocrine glands. The glands without ducts are called as ductless glands are called as endocrine glands. Their secretions are called as hormones, which are released directly into the blood. And these hormones, the secretion of endocrine gland, transported to the specific target organs to their to initiate a particular metabolic change. The endocrine gland secrete hormones. The definition for hormone: hormones are the non-nutrient chemicals which act as intracellular messengers and are produced in the trace amount. They are intercellular messengers. They transmit information from one cell to another cell. Hence, they are intercellular messengers. Let us have a glance of human endocrine system. The endocrine gland and hormone producing tissues are located in the different parts of the body. Along with the endocrine glands, the other parts of the body like gastrointestinal tract, kidney, liver, heart also produce small quantity of hormones to control and coordinate the functions of respective organs. Hypothalamus. The hypothalamus contains several group of neurosecretory cells together called as nuclei, which produce neurohormones. They are also called regulatory hormones. There are two types of hormones secreted from the hypothalamus: releasing hormones and inhibitory hormones. Releasing hormones, inhibitory hormones, together called as regulatory hormones, which regulate the synthesis and secretion of anterior pituitary hormones. For example, growth hormone releasing hormone, which is secreted from hypothalamus, it stimulates the secretion of growth hormone from the anterior pituitary gland. As like that, growth hormone, inhibitory hormone secreted from the hypothalamus suppress the synthesis and secretion of growth hormone from the pituitary gland, anterior pituitary gland. Like that, there are 9 hormones. Releasing and inhibitory hormones are synthesized and secreted from the hypothalamus, and these hormones are reached to the anterior pituitary gland through hypophyseal portal system. The connection, portal blood vessel connection between hypothalamus and anterior pituitary called hypophyseal portal system. Here you can see the hormones which are synthesized in the neurons of hypothalamus passes through the axons and released into the anterior pituitary. This connection we can call as hypophyseal portal system. The hormones released from hypothalamus reach the anterior pituitary through portal circulatory system that regulate the function. The posterior pituitary is under direct control of the hypothalamus. The posterior pituitary is actually extension of nervous system, hypothalamus. Pituitary gland is also called as master gland, but hypothalamus is called as master center of the body because pituitary gland controls the all endocrine glands, and it is controlled by hypothalamus. Hence, hypothalamus is called as master center of the endocrine system. Pituitary gland is located in the sella turcica, a bony cavity of the sphenoid bone. It is attached to the hypothalamus by a stalk is called as infundibulum. Her pituitary gland consists two parts: adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. Adenohypophysis further consists two parts: pars distalis and pars intermedia. The anterior lobe of pituitary gland is called pars distalis, and the intermediate lobe is called pars intermedia, and the posterior lobe is called as pars nervosa. That is, the neurohypophysis is also called as pars nervosa. The anterior pituitary gland secrete thyroid stimulating hormone and adrenocorticotropic hormone and luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, growth hormone, and prolactin. And posterior pituitary secretes oxytocin, vasopressin. But these two hormones are synthesized in hypothalamus and stored in the posterior pituitary. Here, growth hormone is responsible for the growth of the body. Prolactin is responsible for the production of growth of mammary glands and milk. The excess secretion of growth hormone causes overgrowth of body leading to the gigantism, and the low secretion causes stunted growth called dwarfism. Prolactin stimulate the growth of mammary glands and production of milk. TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, stimulate the thyroid gland to secrete thyroid hormones. LH and FSH, both together called as gonadotropic hormones because they act on the gonads, ovary and testes. LH FSH, in case of female, FSH is responsible for the follicular development. In case of male, the FSH stimulate the Sertoli cell to secrete certain factors which are responsible for this spermiogenesis. LH stimulate the Leydig cells to secrete the testosterone hormone androgens. In case of female, LH is responsible for ovulation. Next, ADH, oxytocin. This helps in the contraction of uterus during the childbirth and ejection of milk from the mammary glands. Vasopressin is responsible for the absorption of water and electrolytes from the DCT and CD. Next, pineal gland. It is located on the dorsal side of the forebrain, that is in the epithalamus. It releases a amino hormone is called melatonin that regulate the sleep-wake cycle and circadian rhythms. The cyclical events which takes place in 24 hours duration is called as circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythms are controlled by the melatonin hormone, and it also regulates body temperature. In addition to that, melatonin also influences metabolism, pigmentation, menstrual cycle, as well as defense mechanism. Next, thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is composed of two lobes which are located on either side of the trachea, and two lobes of the thyroid gland are interconnected with a thin flap of connective tissue is called as isthmus. The thyroid gland is composed with the follicles and stromal tissue. The thyroid follicles are composed with the parafollicular cells. The parafollicular cells synthesize two hormones, tetraiodothyronin and triiodothyronin. This tetraiodothyronin is also called as thyroxine. Next, follicular cells or stromal cells secrete calcitonin or thyrocalcitonin hormone. Iodine is essential for the normal rate of hormone synthesis in thyroid. The deficiency of iodine leads to the deficiency of thyroxine hormone that we can call as goiter, hypothyroidism or goiter. During pregnancy, hypothyroidism may cause stunted growth of baby and a mental retardation. That condition we can call as cretinism. Hypersecretion leads to the Graves' disease, exophthalmic goiter. Thyroid hormones regulate the basal metabolic rate. They support the process of red blood cell formation. They control the metabolism of carbohydrates, protein, and fats. Next, the thyrocalcitonin regulate the blood calcium levels. Parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland located on the back side of the thyroid gland. There are four parathyroid glands or two pairs of parathyroid glands located on the back side of the thyroid gland. They secrete a peptide hormone called parathyroid hormone. Regulate the calcium ion concentration in the blood. Helps in the reabsorption of calcium from the renal tubule and the digestive tract. This thyrocalcitonin and parathyroid hormone, these two antagonistic in function. One increases calcium levels in the blood, another decreases calcium level in the blood. Thyrocalcitonin increases calcium level, decreases calcium levels in the blood, and the parathyroid hormone increases calcium levels in the blood. Both together maintain calcium levels in the blood. Next, thymus. The thymus located on the dorsal side of the heart and aorta. This gland produce a peptide hormone called thymosin, which helps in the differentiation of the T lymphocytes, which which take a major role in the cell-mediated immunity. It also promotes the production of antibodies to produce the humoral immunity. Next, adrenal gland, also called as suprarenal gland, because it is located on the anterior part of kidney, composed of two type of tissues, central adrenal medulla and outer portion is called as adrenal cortex. Adrenal medulla is derived from the ectoderm. It secretes two hormones, adrenaline, noradrenaline. They are commonly called as catecholamines because they are derivatives of aromatic amino acids. These hormones also called as emergency hormones because during emergency time they increases glucose levels in the blood. These hormones increase alertness, pupillary dilation, sweating, heartbeat, rate of respiration, glycogenolysis. Glycogenolysis, the breakdown of glycogen into glucose. The adrenal cortex secretes the glucocorticoids. Adrenal cortex, actually adrenal cortex consists three zones: zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, zona reticularis. Zona glomerulosa secrete mineralocorticoids, and a principal mineralocorticoid is aldosterone. The aldosterone is responsible for reabsorption of electrolytes and water. Next, zona fasciculata secrete glucocorticoids, and this principal glucocorticoid is cortisone. The glucocorticoids stimulate gluconeogenesis, meaning the formation of glucose from the non-carbohydrate substances. And zona reticularis secretes sex corticoids, epiandrosterone, type of androgens that are responsible for the growth of hair. Next, pancreas is a mixed gland, heterocrine gland, consists of both exocrine and endocrine part. Exocrine portion consists of secretory cells called acini which secrete pancreatic juice, contains digestive enzymes. Endocrine portion of pancreas consists islets of Langerhans, which consists three types of cells: alpha cells, beta cells, and delta cells. Alpha cells secrete hormone glucagon, and the beta cells secrete hormone insulin, and the delta cells secrete hormone somatostatin. And this both the hormone glucagon and insulin are antagonistic in function because glucagon increases glucose levels in the blood and insulin decreases glucose levels in the blood. Both the hormones are involved in the maintenance of blood sugar levels. So glucagon is a peptide hormone that stimulates the glycogenolysis, that is breakdown of glycogen to form glucose, resulting in the increasing of blood sugar. That we can, hence the glucagon is called as hyperglycemic hormone. Insulin is a peptide hormone that plays a major role in the regulation of glucose homeostasis. It triggers the rapid movement of glucose from the blood to hepatocytes and adipocytes, resulting in the decreased blood glucose levels. Hence, the insulin is called hypoglycemic hormone. Next, hormones of heart, kidney, and gastrointestinal tract. The wall of heart secrete a peptide hormone called atrial natriuretic factor, which decreases blood pressure. The ANF is a vasodilator. By dilation of blood vessel, it decreases blood pressure. The juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney produce erythropoietin, a peptide hormone erythropoietin that stimulates erythropoiesis, that is production of RBC from bone marrow. Gastrointestinal tract secrete four major peptide hormone: gastrin that stimulate the secretion of HCl and pepsinogen, and the secretin act on the exocrine part of the pancreas and stimulate the secretion of water and bicarbonate ions. Cholecystokinin act on both liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. It stimulates the secretion of pancreatic enzyme and also bile juice. Gastric inhibitory peptide or enterogastrin, which inhibit the secretion of gastric juice and the motility of stomach. Next, mechanism of hormone actions. Hormone produce their effect on the target tissue by binding to the specific proteins called hormone receptor located on their target tissue. So each hormone consists a specific receptor which is located on their target tissues. For example, thyroid stimulating hormone will be having receptors only on thyroid gland. Means the TSH can act only on thyroid gland, not on any other organ in the body. When these hormones are bind with the receptor on their target organ, that result in the formation of hormone receptor complex. The hormone receptor complex formation leads to the certain biochemical changes in the target tissue. Target tissue metabolism, hence physiological functions are regulated by hormones. So when hormone receptor complex form, this induces some biochemical changes in the target tissue, then the physiological changes occurs in the target tissue. On the basis of chemical nature, hormones are grouped as peptide hormones, polypeptide hormones, protein hormones, steroid hormones, iodothioneins, amino hormones. Here, insulin, glucagon, and all pituitary hormones, hypothalamic hormones are peptide or polypeptide or protein hormones. Next, steroid hormones. Uh, these are the steroid hormones are derivatives of cholesterol. Example: cortisol, testosterone, progesterone, estrogen. Iodothionein contains amino acid and plus iodine. Example: thyroid hormone. Amino acids, amino hormones contains only a single amino acid. Example: epinephrine, norepinephrine, and melatonin are the amino hormones. Let us see the mechanism of the hormone action. Hormones which interact with the membrane bond receptors normally do not enter the target cell but generate the second messenger. Here two type of receptors are present: membrane bond receptors and intracellular receptors. Membrane bond receptors present over the plasma membrane of target cell. Intracellular receptors mostly located in the nucleoplasm of the cell, cytoplasm or nucleoplasm of the cell. Based on the solubility, the hormones can be divided into two types: lipid soluble hormones and water soluble hormones. The water soluble hormones cannot pass the lipid membrane, plasma membrane, so they have to bind with the membrane bond receptor. So your water soluble hormones interact with the membrane bond receptors and they do not enter into the target cell. By binding with the membrane bond receptors, they generate the secondary messengers like cyclic AMP, adenosine monophosphate, and inositol phosphate, calcium ions. These act as a secondary messengers for water soluble hormones. Next, hormones which interact with intracellular receptors like steroid hormones, iodothioneins. Here, amino hormones, protein hormones, peptide hormones, these all are water soluble hormones, so they compulsory have to generate the secondary messenger to regulate the cellular metabolism. Hormones which interact with intracellular receptors mostly regulate the gene expression. Here, lipid soluble hormones can interact with intracellular receptors because they can easily pass to the lipid membrane. Example: steroid hormones and iodothioneins. So when they bind with the hormone receptors, that result in the formation of hormone receptor complex. This hormone receptor complex interact or bind with the genome of the cell. So they regulate the gene expression or chromosomal function by binding with the a specific gene. The cumulative biochemical action result in the physiological and physical development. Here you can see FSH is a amino hormone. FSH is a protein hormone or peptide hormone that cannot bind with intracellular receptor because it is a water soluble hormone. So it bind with the membrane bond receptor. When the hormone is bind with membrane bond receptor, that result in the hormone receptor complex, and this hormone receptor complex induces G protein, which is present in the plasma membrane. The G protein induces the formation of cyclic AMP. Formation of, here one enzyme is involves, that adenyl cyclase enzyme. This adenyl cyclase enzyme convert ATP into cyclic AMP. The cyclic AMP is act as a secondary messenger. So this secondary messenger, second messenger induces biochemical response and physiological responses in the respective target organ. This is a mechanism of water soluble hormones. And here you can see the lipid soluble hormone. The example estrogen. The estrogen is interact with receptor present in the nucleoplasm that result in the hormone receptor complex. This hormone receptor complex is bind with a specific gene in the genome. Then it regulate the gene expression. By that induces physiological responses. By this we have completed chemical coordination and integration and part 1 synapses also completed. The next session we will start the part 2 synapse.